Welcome to Bitcoin Aggregated. We've got a lot of stuff to get through today. A lot of cool things happening. One of
But
the
is there not? It's Bitcoin.
Yeah, of course. One of the awesome things that I didn't tell you about, Chris. My What's Miner rocked up today.
There it is. Get it on camera. I want to see proof.
I've got it in the tent back there. But here's the thing.
Away already?
Yeah, well, no. So I went to go plug it in, and it's got this weird plug like that I hadn't seen before. Apparently, it's some sort of standard. And I was like, "What the hell is this?" So literally just can't plug it into the wall. It's like a.
They didn't send you the power cable.
No, well, it's this weird power cable, and I don't even know like what country it's from or anything. I'm like, even looking online, I can't see it. So I took it down to JCar, and he got me a converter. The converter doesn't actually fit into the plugs. And then they're closed now. So I was just like, it rocked up this Arvo. I was so excited to plug it in and
just when you think the ordeal is over,
there's
still one more thing you got to get over.
Yeah. But I've got it. So yeah. So shout out to Compass Mining. Thank you for sending my What's Miner finally. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So is that the other thing I wanted to talk about? Well, actually, so I found this really cool app. Actually, shout out to Tiggs. He found this really cool Lightning app on a site called stacksats.how. Actually, I'll share the screen. So cool. Can you see that okay?
It's just popping up now. Yep, I can see it now.
I
feel like I've heard of this website, actually.
Yeah. So basically, they list like all the cool sort of new apps that are happening. So kind of like that IPFS site that they had a while back, sort of talking about all the new IPFS apps. But this is a Lightning sort of specific. And there's a bunch of cool ones. So obviously Fountain, which we're on now, which is awesome. Stack of News, which is like
shout out to the Fountain listeners.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone on Fountain. Stack of News is basically like Hacker News, but specifically for Lightning, obviously. And it lets you write stuff. You can post jobs, post all sorts of things, and people pay in sats for whatever you're writing. So I put up something in Savo just on the Bitcoin school that we built. I don't know, it's probably gone now, but anyway, thought that was pretty awesome. And then coming across to this guy, Vita. So there's a whole bunch of other cool stuff. LN Cal, which is really cool as well. So basically people paying in sats to book an appointment with you through your Google Calendar, which is like wicked. But Vita. So Vita is vita.page. So if you go here, literally you have your Lightning app. You actually connect your node to it if you want to. I've just connected my Albi address to it. But literally people can click on your name, click on message or call, and
Jimmy Song's prices are inflated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd probably message Jack Mellors instead. But yeah, basically message or call, and it costs you sats, so you're paying in sats. But the key part is it's on strike. So people can sign up with a Visa or a MasterCard or whatever, and it does the conversion on the back end and gives you sats across for your time, basically. So I reckon this is a killer app. So I've signed up. Tiggs has signed up as well.
This is nice. This is Jack's like whole thing, right? It's like almost like obfuscating Bitcoin itself and just having like, he always calls it like the best Rails system. Doesn't matter what asset you want to use, whether that's USD, Bitcoin, some other fiat currency. Like the best system to move that all around is the Bitcoin Rails. So like this is, I guess, another one of those apps that kind of lives up to that kind of thesis, right?
100%. And I was like, initially I thought when I saw Strike, I was like, oh, it's not going to work in Australia. And then we tested it out. We're like, holy shit, like we can use it from anywhere in the world. So And it's
Does it work as
literally-
like a buyer? Like if I was to send you a message, like how would I enter my credit card details, for instance, if I didn't have sats to send?
Oh, it's literally as you're signing up, you just like enter your
Okay.
credit card details, and then
Sick.
click on my name, message, call, and away you go. It's pretty awesome.
What does it call you through? What system is it using? Like,
Don't know. We only messaged, so if you want
Right.
to, if you want to sign up now, we can.
I'm not giving you 44 cents just to call you. I can talk to you right now.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty awesome. So I thought that's like a killer app for sure.
Yeah, I think I'll have to sign up.
I've
That
got
looks
someone
really
else.
cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I probably can't get
I'm
my
live
friends.
streaming. Yeah. That was
It's part of the bloopers.
Now we'll leave that in. We'll leave that in.
That's good.
Yeah, so pretty cool. I thought that was pretty awesome. Bunch of other stuff. So they had this thing, Starbacker, which is like video content. It looks like TikTok, but on Lightning. I was like, what the hell? So you can like upload videos, people pay. Wavelake, which is music. So if you want to upload your music instead of going to SoundCloud, you can do it on Lightning. People pay specifically. So I've got like DJ sets that I've done, so I'm thinking of uploading them there and seeing what happens. Like I've got them on SoundCloud, where whatever, and you have to pay to keep them there. So this is
Really, as a content creator, you got to pay to keep them
you
there?
got to pay SoundCloud. Yeah, it's crazy.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, this is like a much better model where you actually get paid. And the other really cool one, what was it? Oh, Scarcity. So Scarcity is basically like artwork, and the really cool thing they've done. So it's like NFTs, obviously, blind. So like that's cool. Some pretty cool NFTs out there, but physical artwork as well. So like if you have an art piece that you've created and you want to sell it on there, you can sell it on the Lightning Network and send it to somebody like IRL. So yeah, pretty awesome. Whole bunch of other cool stuff. So highly recommend jumping on stacksats.how. Games as well. So like poker, and like a bunch of other stuff where you're actually getting paid. CSGO. I don't know if you're a CS man, but
Back in the day, yeah. I've actually been enjoying poker lately, not so much from like the gambling aspect, but just purely from like the game. Like I actually find poker has like some really nice things about it. Like it's math based, it's a bit psychology based, and
yeah.
So I might check out some Lightning poker.
Maybe we should do a live stream
of us losing. And I like that it says like the little tag, losses possible.
Losses possible. We'll do a live stream of us losing our money, losing our set. Now that'll be fun, I reckon. Jump into that, but yeah, a whole bunch of cool stuff. So yeah, 100% worth checking out. But anyway, let's get into the news. So yeah, oh god, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I kind of want to touch base on. Fedimint, which I know you listen to the podcast as well. I was quite excited listening to this. If you want to check it out, go to the What Bitcoin Did podcast, and Peter interviews a guy from Fedimint who basically runs through this open source project that they're building, as it's like a custodial service, like a layer 3 custodial service, where what turned me off initially when I was listening to it was that they had another token. I don't know if you picked that up. I nearly switched off and was like, oh, okay, it's like another.
It's like a representation of the Bitcoin or something, right? Like it's not another token in the sense it's a completely different coin. Like, yeah, I was having a bit of trouble grasping that as well.
Yeah, that I was like, oh no, not another token, but it's not. Yeah, basically they use like a representation of BTC to move it over Lightning. So, and that was the piece that I was like kind of not getting initially, but basically from what I can understand is like you have a representation in like a multi-sig account. So what they're doing is finding, so it is custodial. So this kind of goes to a conversation before the podcast, but basically the custodial service is finding, it's multi-sig custodial, but instead of it being a bank or a Celsius or a company, they're finding people in the community that
We're
are
trusted.
trustworthy, that you can actually trust to be a signatory for the network, sort of thing.
Yeah, they use some term like community trusted or something.
Guardian.
I can't remember.
Guardian.
Guardian. That's right. That's what they call them.
That.
Guardians. Yeah.
That was really cool.
Funnily enough, I had this idea with my co-founder Jonathan from CoinStop years ago, talking about like it's similar, like, but not exactly the same, but the concept is thereabouts. But it was like having like a community-based recovery system. So for instance, if I lost my keys or something like that in a boating accident, which happens quite often, like I could have Kieran as like a trusted backup per se. It's not quite exactly the same idea as Fedimint, but it has some similar principles. But I'm interested to see how this progresses. It's like Fedimint is probably like the hottest Bitcoin startup in the space at the moment. Everyone was kind of talking about it over the last month. I think they've got a bunch of investments. So like, it'll be interesting to see how it progresses and how it scales and stuff like that. The podcast says, they hope to have something available sort of by the end of the year for some of the tinkerers and hackers to play with. And they're also building their own, which will probably be the first of likely many wallets that support the Fedimint protocol. The wallet will be called Fedi. But yeah, there'll be nothing stopping anyone else from creating, just like Lightning Network, right? Like Lightning Network, anyone can create a wallet. There's Moon Wallet, there's Wallet of Satoshi, there's tons of different Lightning supported wallets, and I think they foresee something similar happening with the Fedimint protocol, whereby these other wallets may even also adapt it. It might become part of their business model, where Wallet of Satoshi says, "Oh, we'll support the Fedimint protocol as well." And so yeah, it's a really cool concept. I like it.
This might explain it a little bit, or is this making it more confusing? I don't know.
I actually know the guy that wrote these guides, funnily enough.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Shout out to whoever that is. What's his
name? Dude from Perth. Geez, I've forgotten his name, but he wrote these he just caught wind of it and started writing them, and turns out they like adopted all the material he wrote, and then they gave him a job. So shout out to him for hustling. I think that's amazing.
That's super cool indeed. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. I think so obviously the Guardians are they have multi-sig keys for both the Fedimint network and the BTC network. So it's like the main chain and I don't know where the Lightning his Lightning comes in here. I don't know. It seems super confusing, but but cool. I don't know. I like it.
This is how Lightning started off, right? Like most people, like myself, dismissed it for a long time, didn't understand it, thought there was no use of it. And then 1-2 years down the track, it's like, it works.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. So I think, this will mature and people will battle test it and it'll evolve. But it's cool to see ideas like this eventuate, right?
Yeah, bloody oath. I reckon it could be awesome. What really caught my attention as well was the concept of only having one UTXO for a country. So that was mentioned. So you have like a country or a community. I know Peter was saying Bedford should be the first place, but like having one UTXO and everything sort of coming off that. So like that's like the opposite of like everything that we've kind of known so far, right? In the BTC, for the protocol, for the network, like it makes sense. You have that one UTXO, everything comes off that for this community, and they never have to even know what a UTXO is or what the base layer is, much like TCP/IP.
Maybe I'll try to get this guy on the podcast next week or the week after, and we can run through Fedimint in a little bit more depth, because I think we both kind of don't quite understand it.
Know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, like most of the stuff on this podcast, we have no idea what we're talking about. So let's bring on someone who does, and it'll make us look better.
Good thinking.
I'll reach out to him, but he's another Aussie guy, which is really cool.
Oh, sick. Yeah, cool as. I was going to touch base on this with you, but I think maybe we'll leave the self-custody stuff till the project that we're working on has a bit more legs. Because I think it's really important. But yeah, little teaser, we're working on a project to basically upskill people to be self-sovereign, but in a really sort of fun and different way. But yeah, I think we'll kind of come back to that sort of thing. This one was awesome. I don't know if you saw this clip at all. It's so cool. So this guy, he's mining BTC. I don't know what country it's in.
I saw it pop up, but I didn't actually watch the video, so this will be a first for me.
Old cooking oil.
I can't actually hear the audio, but I
It's
get what's
terrible
going
audio.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he's using old cooking oil to power Bitcoin miners. How
Yeah.
the hell is he doing that?
I don't know. I was like, what? But it really kind of flies in the face of, obviously bad for the environment. And yeah, like they say, easy to ban. Not really, right? If you can mine it, I don't know, like I probably wouldn't mine outdoors like that, to be honest. But like without some
It's got
sort
a
of mining
roof.
a roof, yeah. But yeah, pretty cool.
This looks like it might be somewhere in like Central or South America or something
It
like that.
does.
So
Yeah.
the rules are a little bit different there, which I quite like, to be fair. But this is probably like a good segue to probably what brought this tweet on is, the US came out with some, I don't know, what do you call it? Research guidelines. I don't really know what you call it, but they came out with some stuff talking about how Bitcoin proof of work, well, not even specifically Bitcoin, but I guess Bitcoin's the biggest proponent of proof of work because it's the biggest network. But, proof of work networks are not great for the environment. Like, this is not something we haven't heard before, of course. But I found it really coincidental that this kind of stuff came out right before the Ethereum merge, which, one of the big selling points of the Ethereum merge is the fact that they're going to be so much more green and more environmentally friendly and all that sort of nonsense. But yeah, I found that really interesting. I haven't read the whole thing because, I mean, why would you read it? But perhaps it's worth reading. I don't know. But like, when the government usually comments on technology, they're not often very good at doing so.
No,
but
definitely not. Yeah, well, isn't that an Andreas quote? Antonopoulos? He said, I'm gonna butcher it.
He might have stolen it off me. Who knows?
Government can't do tech, basically.
Yeah,
it could be. I mean, the whole Ethereum merge as well. Like it was, it's funny. Like there's people that I know that are pretty au fait with the whole infrastructure and stuff, but they still see Ethereum as a competitor to BTC. And speaking of people like talking about like they're moving to proof of stake, like this, people don't even know what that is, like across the board, right? So they just see these two tokens that are pretty much the same thing, but they don't even understand. Like you're not even allowed to run your own node on the Ethereum network. You can't, well, soon you can't mine it. So like what's going to happen? It's going to become this centralized platform for dApps. Are they dApps? I don't think so. Like if they're on a centralized, basically running on Amazon, right?
AWS.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. But the perception out there from people that you speak to, like not so much in our circles, but the broader community, they still see them as like the same sort of thing. So I don't think we're going to see a reflection in price like immediately. I think it'll probably still sort of trail BTC as it has been for a long while until it's probably going to hit a point where people are going to lose a lot of money, unfortunately, like and a lot of network power as well, which is sad. It's really sad. Like it's really unfair, like that they've kind of portrayed this token as being a competitor to BTC, which I mean, I'm guilty. Like I thought it was really cool. We can run all these dApps and stuff on top of it. And maybe if it had a stayed as proof of work, maybe that was sort of true. But this whole proof of stake thing, like it's really, really awful. Like in terms of sort of tricking people, I don't think it's fair.
Well, yeah, I actually think at this point, Ethereum is largely just number go up technology. Like EIP 1559 was essentially a mechanism to make the number go up. Like that's, as long as that happens and continues to happen, I don't really think people are going to care that much. Like they're just there to get rich. And if I keep getting richer, then I'm willing to turn a blind eye to the fact that they're trading off decentralization and all that sort of stuff. That's the sad reality of it, unfortunately, is that as long as I get rich, I don't really care how it happens and what sacrifices I have to make to get there. And I think that's one thing Bitcoin is, amongst many things, that they're not willing to sort of sacrifice because they see the larger picture. It's not about them. It's about creating sound money. It's, all of the great principles that come along with Bitcoin that I guess Ethereum doesn't perhaps really care about. I don't know. I don't really follow Ethereum that much. I think it's a bit of a silly thing.
Sort of stopped as well. But I mean, like even like Andreas, right? Like, so he wrote like the book about Ethereum, and it was, quite good. So to see it sort of, dissolve into this weird centralized protocol, if you want to call it that, I don't know. It's just like the whole decentralized supercomputer. Like, cool, stick with that if that's what you were going to try and build. But this centralized protocol, I mean, it's all up to Vitalik, right? At the end of the day. So anyway, not to harp.
I've been having I have been and will be continuing to have more of these discussions over the coming week at this crypto conference that I'm going to. I've always struggled to understand what the whole narrative of like the world's supercomputer, what does that mean? Like no one's ever really explained it. Like they just say it because it's like the ultra sound money meme, right? Like there's Bitcoin, which is sound money, and then there's Ethereum, which is ultra sound money. It's like, what does that mean? Like no one actually, it's just like you say it and like you don't need to back it up with any sort of evidence or logical reasoning. And the same sort of thing, like I haven't had anyone really explain to me succinctly what is Ethereum's goal? Like it's to be the world's computer. Like what does that mean? Like literally everything runs off it. Like every business uses Ethereum network in some capacity. Like I don't know, that takes a lot of explaining, and I feel like that kind of is lacking a little bit. But anyway, this is a Bitcoin podcast, not an Ethereum podcast.
What's the name of the conference again that you're going to?
Oh, it's the Australian Crypto Conference. It's I mean, I'm going so I can yell at all of the shitcoin projects and try to educate people about Bitcoin and what sound money is and all that sort of stuff. I'm doing a talk, funnily enough, on self-custody and why nobody owns anything unless they do have self-custody. And my job's really easy. I just have to point to Celsius, Luna, every exchange hack that's happened in 2022. Like there's enough material there for me to just go, why would you even bother with any of this nonsense? But yeah, I think a lot of people have gotten excited in crypto because of all these new projects and all this extra capital that's been floating around. They've forgotten about some of like the foundational principles of Bitcoin that like becoming self-sovereign, which is basically what my talk is centered around, is reminding people that we're trying to escape the fiat system, and Bitcoin is that escape raft. And when we have Ethereum moving to proof of stake, that's not really that much different to the fiat system that we currently live in today, where there are overlords that make decisions about the monetary policy and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of what I'm going there for. I'm not expecting much else to be exciting, but hopefully
Michael Saylor, gosh.
Well, yeah, Michael Saylor is the headline act, which is rather bizarre that but awesome that they were able to get him signed up. He's actually opening the conference, so the first thing that people are going to hear is Saylor, and I am rather looking forward to him hopefully tearing everyone a new one, because we all know he's Bitcoin only.
Yeah.
And this is a crypto conference, so you just have to look at some of the sponsors and some of the other speakers to know that there's a very diverse range of blockchain and crypto in there. So
should be fun.
I'm looking forward to seeing some shocked faces.
Yeah. Did you see Prince Charles or King Charles yesterday when he got asked?
Nah, I can't say I follow that stuff much.
No, it was on Bitcoin Twitter, obviously, but
Okay.
someone asked him, like, do you know about Bitcoin? And he was like, no. It was really telling, actually. And they said, blockchain. And then he was like, oh yes, blockchain.
Oh, wow.
Yes, some good things with that. So it's obviously like he's been informed of how well you can sort of track things with blockchain, but not with BTC, like the actual protocol sort of thing. So I thought that was fascinating to see. For what was he, like 78 years old or whatever he is, for a man to actually know what blockchain is, I suppose, is interesting.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, well, that should be fun, man. Cool. Cool. Karen's gonna be there. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some familiar faces I haven't seen for a few years, and
That'll be fun.
to be honest, I'm most looking forward to the after parties and just finding the other Bitcoiners to drink beers with.
It'd be good if Sailor was actually going to the conference, though. Not being
I think the inside scoop is that he will be appearing at next year's conference, which I believe will be in Melbourne. But you didn't hear it here.
Awesome. That'll be really cool. All right. So there's probably a bunch of stuff we haven't talked about. Rogan again. He's
Matter of time.
Which
Only a matter of time.
He should, right? Like that's
he's a Bitcoiner, but he just doesn't know it.
yeah. Well, I mean, he had Andreas on back in 2014, so you'd think like by now he'd be fully orange pilled, but well, it looks like he is.
Takes time. Like we always say, or like I always say, you buy Bitcoin for exactly the price you deserve, not $1 more, not $1 less. So
yeah, very
doesn't
true.
matter whether you're a multi-millionaire or you're a pleb that only has lives week to week. You buy Bitcoin for the exactly the price that you deserve. Joe's no different.
That's right. This was an interesting one as well. So I don't know if you remember back in the
I
Bitcoin.
did see this.
You remember back in the Bitcoin Center days, like when it was like probably a year after the center launched. It was a big talk, and it was like when Teslas are first coming in. There's big talks of doing exactly this. So
I love that.
So just good. Driving up your Tesla, plugging in with a bunch of miners in the boot. Like it's I thought, there's no way, but it looks like somebody's actually doing it. It's crazy.
They look like GPU miners, right? Like I don't think they're ASICs.
Let's pause it,
Yeah, I think they're GPU. They're like 3090s by the looks of them.
Yeah.
Just with fans on they built a custom rack.
You're right. What the hell?
There's a few in there. There's a good almost 30 maybe.
So probably earth mining, I guess.
Well, yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. Well, that's not as cool as I thought, but anyway. Still, I think it's hilarious. There's that one. The other one I wanted to bring up was Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, we kind of know she's like a good-hearted person and been trying to do some cool stuff for a long time in terms of fighting the Fed and centralized banking. She just has that missing piece in her head for BTC for whatever reason. Like she just has it in her head that like it's a bad thing and she's not going to change her mind. Which kind of sucks because she could be a real ally to the whole community, really. So is that one? And
can't say I know much about Elizabeth Warren, to be fair, to come to that conclusion, but I guess I'll take your word on it.
Yeah, like I mean, she's not a bad person by any stretch of the imagination. It's just like this one thing where it's kind of like actually Andrew Yang. The Andrew Yang who ran for president while
Yeah.
ago. Like it took him a little while to come around to BTC, and what I can sort of offer. And he was like a big
The
UBI.
big socialist party, right?
Yeah. So I mean, he was a Democrat to begin with. So yeah, a lefty, and now he's like running his own thing called the Forward Party. But specifically looking at BTC for that. So it's actually like how I first started looking at BTC was looking into UBI, so Universal Basic Income, and in my mind, reading the white paper, I thought it would translate to everybody running their own CPU or GPU miner, and that's the UBI, right? So like a government issued, which I mean, like ironically, I guess El Salvador is kind of doing with the mining out of the volcano. But my thinking was like fully decentralized. So yeah, like I had no idea that, well, no one really did, that ASICs were going to come along. But the concept of CPU mining, GPU mining, and then government issued devices to do that, right? So like you have the government sort of supporting everybody. Back when I thought like, the governments are actually trying to help people. With, I mean, there is people in government trying to help, but for the most part, the pretty ass backwards and can't do technology very well. But my thinking was, all right, well, they can issue a device. Boom, here we go. Everyone can have a UBI that supports everybody else, sort of thing. But didn't work out that way. It seems like it's become more. It's a bit like did become more elitist than I thought it was going to be. So like, you have to buy the hardware and you have to have a lot of expertise to sort of run it. I think it's maybe not Satoshi's original vision for that aspect of things, but the way it has progressed. Yeah.
That is an interesting thing to think about, is like if ASICs didn't sort of push Bitcoin to the stratosphere and really change the mining difficulty, like those things were still obviously there, but that trajectory would have probably been a lot slower. It's interesting to think like what it would have looked like if that was the case, but I can't say I put a lot of thought into it. It just popped up from some of the things you were saying. But
yeah,
one tangent I just did want to make, and you were talking, and I don't like to get political because politics just drives me up the wall.
yeah,
like,
it's boring.
like I'm sure even politicians don't like politics,
No.
but they just happen to be there at the time,
Yeah.
so they have to be interested in it. But the Canadian Democratic leader, I think, don't hold me to that, but the new Canadian Democratic leader is like pro Bitcoin.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, forgotten his name. Just I've seen him popped around a bunch of times over the last couple of months, and I think I just saw a tweet recently to say that, like, yeah, he's been sort of elected as the next guy that goes to the elections for the Democratic Party. And yeah, he's pro BTC. Doesn't mean he's going to get in. Also doesn't mean that if he does get in that he's going to suddenly adopt Bitcoin or anything like that. But I thought that was interesting, that he's at least got his internal party support given his position on Bitcoin. Again, he may flip. He may end up going, oh, now that I'm prime minister, I don't like Bitcoin. It's bad for the environment. Who knows?
Didn't Trump do that? I think Trump did that as well. He was like, pro Bitcoin, pro WikiLeaks, pro everything. And then, what were you talking about? Completely flipped on. But I mean, they're all kind of the same. But that being said, like without the government in El Salvador and what they've done, it wouldn't have happened, right? So like there is a place for that, a place and a time, I suppose, to sort of interject with governance, with pro BTC governance, I suppose. So it's I don't know if we can ignore it completely, but it is irritating at the same time. So you're right, and it gets boring to talk about. So let's move on from politics, I suppose. Finally, I don't know if you saw this one. So 16 arrested in South Korea for illegal crypto trading activities. So it seems like this is becoming more and more prevalent, like across the board. So like I think Korea is sort of tracking down or trying to crack down on trading specifically. So kind of the same way that China cracked down on mining, I think they're kind of taking it from the trading aspect. Now I know we don't care so much about crypto trading specifically, but it has had a knock-on effect, like having a look at like what's happening there with stuff happening in Australia. So I've noticed working with other people to sort of help them with their funds and stuff. And even with my own CoinJar account, just recently, I got this notification saying like this whole long-winded thing that you could be doing this, could be doing that. So I sent an email back saying, well, what are you actually saying? Can you give me the blockchain ID and and time and whatever was going on? Turns out it was a transaction to Namecheap, which is a domain registrar, buying a domain with BTC. They don't like it, so they've blacklisted Namecheap of all things. So I mean, with that, they've had I think we spoke about it on a previous episode with a friend of mine trying to do a transaction from TradeOgre over to CoinJar and I think SwiftX as well, and they got blocked. So these centralized exchanges, and in alignment with government, I guess, seem to be sort of blocking stuff and being pretty nasty, like darksiders, which is really gross. Like particularly when you see a lot of these like exchanges and these companies sort of start up looking at doing the right thing and looking at being innovative and progressive, and now they've become kind of what they've started out trying to stop to do. So yeah, it's interesting to see that sort of happening in countries like South Korea and replicating itself here.
Yeah, I think it kind of shows their true colors when companies kind of bend the knee to the regulators. Because I think I've said this on a previous podcast, or I've certainly said it privately to a bunch of people, but I think, and this surely isn't any world-breaking news, but the centralized exchanges are sort of the gatekeepers, and I think that's the easy low-hanging fruit for the governments is, how do we figure out what's going on here? Well, the vast majority of users are at these centralized exchanges, so let's just get a grip on them. That'll give us a heap of analytics, a heap of data. We'll be able to figure out who's buying, who's selling, how do we tax them, and how do we audit that stuff against what people actually report. So I think these entities are the ones that are going to be co-opted first. And, it's going to be simply the government's going to come knocking, or these state agencies are going to come knocking. And if you don't comply, you'll be fined, jailed, or be forced to shut down. And you'll see the true colors show. And I think, CoinJar saying that you can't send money to TradeOgre or you can't send money to Namecheap. Like, who are they to say that? They're obviously getting pressured by someone else to do so. But I think another good example, and I might have said this on the podcast before, is which is kind of the opposite reaction, is when Shapeshift kind of got this pressure. They were the go-to place many years ago for people to switch between different cryptocurrencies, and
Jack's wallet.
They were, for all intents and purposes, they were a great service. But they got that pressure, and funnily enough, they said, well, fuck yeah, we'll shut down. And, we're not going to comply with that because that goes against our moral compass. And I kind of respect that.
Really respect that. Yeah.
Whereas these companies are obviously saying like, oh shit, this is our business model. This is our profit margin at, that what choice do we have other than to shut down? And so they've just said, well, we have to comply.
Yeah.
And it's sad, like that's not what I got into Bitcoin for. That's not why I like Bitcoin. Ultimately, Bitcoin itself is unaffected because it has all the properties to fight against. Or it doesn't care. Like, I can send Bitcoin to anyone and no one can tell me whether I can and can't do that. But in terms of the kind of on and off ramps, which is where most of people are sort of, that's their touch points. These places are getting co-opted now, and it's sad.
In particular, like for something like CoinJar, like you would think like their security team would probably look at my account and go, oh, okay, this guy's had an account since launch. Maybe we should, before sending him a nasty email, like figure out like what's actually going in here. Oh, okay, he made a transaction to Namecheap to buy a domain. Maybe that's not such a bad
Yeah.
thing, right? But no,
You're a criminal, Kieran.
criminal, yeah, like bad guy. Yeah, it's really gross. But you would like, and it sucks because I was like at the BTC meetups, like literally for the launch of CoinJar, it was exciting. It's like this new exchange where you could do cool stuff with it. To see it sort of,
And they
yeah,
were
just,
Bitcoin only at that point, right?
yep, yeah, specific with pressure actually from, well, at the time they weren't called shitcoiners, altcoiners, saying, can you please like implement, Ethereum or even before Ethereum, like Litecoin. And they were like, no, like Asher at the time was just like, nah, never doing it. So to see it sort of progress, it's probably out of his hands now, right? Like it's a whole board sort of moved over to the UK or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of sucks to see these companies go by the wayside. But I mean, well, that's the same for people in the space as well, right? Like Bitcoin doesn't care if you're kind of move on to shit coins or different tech or whatever it is. It's still plugging along. So I guess they kind of lose out in the end. But yeah, interesting times. Anyways, we might leave it there then, Chris. I think this was a good episode, and we'll come back again next week with hopefully we'll have another session maybe beforehand and have some news for people on what we're looking at launching as well, because I think it's pretty exciting. But yeah, anything else you wanted to touch on before we go?
No, I think we've jumped all over the place tonight. There's been some cool things that we've spoken about. Hopefully people have enjoyed listening to us. Please leave some comments on our Twitters or anything like that if you want to reach out. We're always happy to chat. If you've got any suggestions for the show or people that you'd like to see on the show, that would be great too. We are trying to expand our guests. So if you've got anyone that you'd like to hear from that you think that would work well for our show, let us know. Otherwise, until next time.
Until next time. Oh, and apologies to Dave Jones from last week. We were meant to have an interview, and yeah, I was really sick, so we'll have to tee that up again. But yeah, thanks heaps, Chris, and we'll do it again next week. Adios.